Hey everybody, it's Christy Birchville. Today we are looking at Romans chapter 3. This is such an incredible chapter. There's so much stuff in this chapter. Basically, Paul is trying to defend the Jewish way of life and help them understand the completion of it. So, Jews, and even today, not just in his day and time, the law that's found in the Old Testament, those first 5 books of the Bible, specifically things like the Ten Commandments and all the other laws that are there in Exodus, going on through Leviticus, all of those laws, Jews understand that in order to be made right with God, they need to follow those laws. That's their relationship builder between them and God. Paul is saying that's not why the law was given. And it's an interesting thought that like I said, even Jews today struggle with understanding this thought process. And in verse 20 of Romans chapter 3, Paul says, therefore, no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by the works of the law. Rather, through the law, we became conscious of our sin. So if we can't ever be made right with God by working the law, why did God give us the law in the first place? Paul says it right here. God gave the law to help us see that we can't do it. We can't work hard enough. We can't muster up enough oomph to be able to do everything in the law. We just can't. We can't do it. That's why God had initiated the sacrifice system. That's why there were so many things that the Jewish people were told to do in the Old Testament in order to make themselves try to be right with God. And they were never there. They were always falling short. And they always had to repeat these sacrifices and redo. And instead, God says, the reason I gave you the law is so that you could see you can't be good enough. You can't do it. You can't. You need Christ. So Christ came and was the ultimate sacrifice that fulfilled the law. It says in Hebrews, talks about because Jesus has a permanent priesthood, he's able to save completely those who come to God through him because he's always living. Christ raising from the dead, the resurrection of Christ is what sealed that sacrifice as being permanent for everything. Yes, we are all sinful. Yes, we are all going to mess up. Yes, God gave the law to help demonstrate just how incredibly hard it is to be right in God's sight and to help us understand that we can't do it. That's why we need Christ. That's why we need our faith in him. Through our faith in him, that is how we come to Christ. Or that's how we come to God. That's how we are made right. This chapter works with so many other pieces of the Bible. Like I said, we've referenced the Old Testament, Deuteronomy, Exodus, all the way through Hebrews. This is the tie-in. This is why you have the Old Testament and you need the New Testament, because this is why they come together. I hope that you see this as part of why I believe in Christ, why I know that Christ is the fulfillment of this and that I need him, because I can't do this on my own and neither can you. Incredible truths there as we continue to work through the book of Romans. If you've missed any of these, make sure you go back and check out the playlist in the description below for the previous ones. And be sure to subscribe so that I can see you tomorrow when the next one drops and we have chapter 4. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.